Welcome to this explainer. Today, we're going to initiate a total paradigm shift in how you view your own mind. Look, we've absolutely all been there, right? You're just sitting at your desk, minding your own business, and suddenly you are completely overwhelmed by a wave of anxiety. Or maybe you're just chatting with someone and you get hit by a flash of anger that seems to come entirely out of nowhere. It honestly feels like a glitch in the system. Well, if you've ever felt like your emotions are just hijacking the driver's seat and dragging you somewhere you really don't want to go, you are exactly in the right place. Today, we are going to completely rebuild your understanding of emotional intelligence from the absolute ground up.
So ask yourself this: what if those overwhelming waves of anxiety, or the sudden flashes of anger, or even those heavy blankets of sadness, what if they aren't random glitches at all? Imagine that awful knot in your stomach right before you open a super vague email from your boss saying, "Hey, we need to talk." What if that isn't just mindless panic? What if instead, these feelings are highly functional dashboard lights trying desperately to get your attention?
Okay, let's dive right into this. We are shifting to a concept called the needs signal framework. I want you to start treating your emotions exactly like a car's low fuel or check engine light. I mean, you wouldn't grab a hammer and smash the low fuel light on your dashboard, right? That would be literally ridiculous. You'd pull over, you'd get gas, you'd actually thank it for telling you what the engine needs before it breaks down on the highway. Your emotions are exactly the same. They're biological algorithms. They are highly adaptive signals pointing directly to a core human requirement that is either currently missing or comfortably fulfilled. So here's our roadmap for today's explainer. First, we'll decode the basic emotion signals. Second, we'll hit the needs emotion loop. Third, we'll map out the 8 core emotion families. Fourth, we'll scale that up to the complex nuances of the human experience. And finally, number 5, we'll leave you with a super practical emotional action plan for your daily life. Let's get to it.
Part 1. Decoding the emotion signal. Let's get into the actual science of feelings, because before we can master them, we have to know what's happening under the hood.
Now, scientists have debated this heavily for a long time. On one side, you've got Paul Ekman. He argues that basic emotions are universally pre-wired into our biology. Think about the universal facial expression for fear, right? Widened eyes, instinctively taking in more visual information to spot a threat and seek safety. Ekman says the core biology is pre-wired, even if our culture tells us when it's okay to show it. But on the flip side, you have Lisa Feldman Barrett's theory. She suggests our brains actively construct emotions on the fly based on our past experiences, physical sensations, and cultural concepts. But here's the kicker. Here's why this actually matters for you. Whether our emotions are ancient hardwired instincts or incredibly complex constructs built from our childhood memories, the biological reality in your body feels absolutely urgent. When your heart rate spikes, the origin story of that feeling doesn't matter nearly as much as the immediate right now message it's trying to deliver.
Which brings us perfectly to part 2, the needs emotion loop. Let's look at how this foundational science translates into the actual machinery you experience every single day.
Okay, the absolute crucial point here is this formula. Emotion equals trigger plus appraisal plus need. Let's just walk through it. Say an internal or external trigger happens. Let's use an upcoming presentation at work. The room is booked, the calendar invite is sent, it's happening. Next, you personally appraise it. Your subjective brain steps in and says, "Oh man, I might fail," or "people are going to judge me." Now that appraisal points directly to a core human need. In this scenario, it's probably your need for competence or social acceptance. And when that specific need feels threatened, boom, the emotion of anxiety is generated. Your palms sweat, your heart races, your mind runs through 50 worst-case scenarios, and it's all simply because a fundamental human need feels at risk. And honestly, this brilliantly illustrates the whole philosophy behind emotion-focused therapy. Emotions are never arbitrary. They serve as adaptive signals providing crucial information about our needs, desires, and boundaries. Your presentation anxiety isn't some random panic attack designed just to ruin your Tuesday. It's an incredibly specific adaptive signal. It's your brain desperately providing info about your fundamental need for competence and belonging. And once you listen to that, you actually empower yourself to work with the emotion instead of constantly fighting against it.
So what are these signals exactly? Part 3. The 8 core emotion families. Let's map out this terrain using the pioneering work of neuroscientist Jack Panksepp.
What's absolutely fascinating here is the direct link between a feeling, the specific brain chemistry that's driving it, and the psychological need it represents. Just look at fear. It involves the amygdala and serotonin, and it's literally just your brain signaling a need for safety and predictability. Or anger, firing up in the prefrontal cortex. That's an alert that your boundaries are being crossed. Think about a time someone blatantly took credit for your work. That sudden burning heat in your chest.
That is just an anger signal screaming for autonomy, justice, and respect. Sadness, that indicates a lack of connection or meaning, usually tied to a drop in dopamine. And joy is there to reinforce behaviors that meet our vital needs for belonging and self-worth.
And the dashboard keeps going across the spectrum. Disgust isn't just about finding, a week-old container of mystery meat in the back of your fridge. Though, yes, your insula totally handles that too. But it also protects your moral integrity, keeping you away from toxic social situations. Surprise forces your mind to rapidly recalibrate to seek clarity. Anticipation is what drives us toward our future goals for preparedness, lighting up the medial prefrontal cortex. And trust, driven by that warm, fuzzy hit of oxytocin, builds reliability and sets the foundation for secure relationships. These 8 families right here, these are your primary dashboard indicators.
Part 4. Nuances of the human experience. Because we all know humans are wonderfully complex, we don't just walk around feeling 8 basic things like simple robots. We've got to scale this up.
Through what psychologists call emotional granularity, which is basically your ability to make fine-grained distinctions between your feelings, those 8 core families combine and scale into over 150 nuanced, secondary, and tertiary human experiences. And let me tell you, emotional granularity is an absolute superpower. Studies consistently show that people who can pinpoint their exact emotion, like saying I feel alienated instead of just I feel bad, are significantly better at regulating their mental health. Being able to put a specific name to these nuances is a total game changer for your emotional intelligence.
So look at how these start to blend at the secondary tier. Love is this beautiful blend of joy and trust, signaling our profound need for connection and mutual respect. Guilt? Guilt is actually just a combination of sadness and fear. It's a highly specific signal telling you, hey, it is time to realign your morals and forgive yourself. And then there's ambivalence. Have you ever felt completely paralyzed by a big decision? That is just joy and fear actively battling it out in your head, signaling a deep need for you to find decisiveness and clarity before you move forward.
Then we get into the really complex stuff, Tier 3 emotions, which are deeply shaped by our culture and context. Take FOMO, the fear of missing out. Think about sitting on your couch on a Friday night scrolling through Instagram photos of a party you weren't invited to. That pang of FOMO isn't just superficial social media angst. It is a surprisingly potent psychological mix of fear and anticipation. It's literally your brain explicitly screaming for your core human need for inclusion and validation.
Or take the incredibly beautiful Welsh concept of hiraeth. This is a profound, bittersweet longing. It's that delicate ache you feel for a time, a place, or even a past version of yourself that you know you can never quite return to. If you've ever felt this deeply nostalgic pull, that's just your emotional dashboard lighting up to signal an unmet need for belonging and rootedness, or a desire to reconnect with your heritage.
And listen, if you've ever sat there doom scrolling the news and felt completely, overwhelmingly depleted by the heavy state of the world, yeah, that has a name too. It's called coebico. It's a profound existential fatigue. And what is the signal there? It's indicating a vital need to regain your personal agency. It is begging you to step back from the uncontrollable global chaos, find some meaning in your immediate surroundings, and regain control through local, actionable steps.
All right, part 5, your emotional action plan. We've got the science, the brain chemistry, the cultural nuances. So how do we actually use this vast emotional dashboard in our daily lives? Let's open up the operator's manual.
We're going to use the needs analysis framework. It goes like this. Step 1, identify the core family. Let's say it's anger because a colleague consistently talks over you in meetings. Step 2, unpack your reactions. Physically, your face feels hot. Heart rate goes up. Cognitively, you're thinking, wow, they don't respect my expertise at all. Behaviorally, maybe you shut down or you snap back. Step 3, map it directly to the underlying need. In this exact case, your physical and mental reactions to being ignored map perfectly to a threatened psychological need for respect, autonomy, and esteem. See how that works?
To make this a real daily habit, here are some incredibly actionable tools you can start using today. First, grab an emotion wheel to identify those nuanced sub-emotions. Just keeping one on your desk can actually interrupt a panic response because it forces your logical brain to search for a specific word. You can use targeted journal prompts to trace back your historical triggers. You can practice nonviolent communication to translate your emotional states into clear, needs-based statements, like saying, hey, I feel frustrated right now because I need more clarity on this project. And finally, regular mindfulness check-ins, like a quick breathing exercise or a body scan, can help you monitor what your physical state is trying to whisper to you long before it has to shout.
Look, when you adopt this framework, you finally stop fighting yourself. Your emotions are no longer your enemies. They aren't just random, inconvenient mood swings out to ruin your day.
They are your most honest, dedicated advisors. So the next time you feel a lingering grudge, remember, it's probably just anger and sadness pointing to a need for justice and closure. That sudden spike of anxiety, it's just a totally natural plea for safety.
We've covered the mechanics, the neurobiology, and the really deep cultural nuances of our feelings. You now have the actual tools to read your own dashboard. So I'm going to leave you with one final thought to chew on today. Think about the emotion you struggle with the absolute most. Ask yourself right now, what hidden need is your most difficult emotion desperately trying to fulfill? Thank you so much for joining me for this explainer, and I highly encourage you to take this framework and start decoding your own signals today.